Well, it's not sweet and sour this time around.
It's Crockett and Tubbs with the Miami Blue Macan.
Macan S. Which one's Tubbs? Okay, which one's driving? Oh, I win. Nice.
I was hoping for 3 for 3.
You know, that's going to be yours like this. Okay, Tubbs.
No, you're Tubbs.
Who says I'm Tubbs?
Tubby. You're the Teletubby.
I don't. Got a couple of dad bods on board.
Yeah, these dad bods do not come cheap. I'm telling you, there's a lot of work that goes into these bods.
You know what my dad always used to say? It's all bought and paid for.
That's right. That's right. So we're in Newfoundland, on the west coast of Newfoundland, and if you've never been here, it's spectacular, but it's so far to come.
Yeah, from where we live.
From where we live. Think about this. LA to New York is about 2,000 miles.
Right.
This is almost 3,000 miles.
I know.
From Vancouver to Newfoundland. It's closer to fly from here to Europe than it is to fly to
home.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
So
actually, it's crazy. It's it takes about 2,000 miles to London or to Paris.
Yeah.
And it's over 3,000 miles for us to get home. Big country.
Huge country. The time zone difference is 4.5 hours.
When have you ever heard, for those outside of Canada, of a half-hour time zone? That's Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And you know what? Brian and I, we have been all over the world test driving cars, and we've seen all kinds of geography. People ask us all the time, where are the best places you've ever been? And 2 of them for me are in Canada.
Yeah.
One of them's right here.
The Rock, as they call it.
Yeah, Newfoundland. And the other one, in my opinion, is Yukon Territory, Northern Canada. That's another beautiful place.
Pretty spectacular there as well.
So why do we love Newfoundland? It's wide open spaces, beautiful mountains, fantastic ocean views, these little fishing villages, and 2 other things. One for me is the people, and the other one is?
The beer. They have great beer. There's a little brewery outside of St. John's. It's actually a little village called Kitty Vitty. Mm-hmm. And they make unbelievable beer. And we can't get it on the West Coast.
You can't get it outside of Newfoundland. And they make it from what?
They make it from iceberg water. They harvest the icebergs, they melt it down, so that water is pure.
Thousands of years old, and they make beer out of it. Doesn't get better than that.
No.
That's the ultimate craft brewery.
Yes.
And you don't need to be a hipster to drink it.
No. I think we're going to smuggle some back home, I think.
So we're here for Macan S. The regular Macan, which is the 4-cylinder, stays the same, right? They've left the same engine, which is an Audi 4-cylinder. You know, a lot of people, when that one came out a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago now, they said, oh, that's terrible. You know, why would they put a turbo 4-cylinder in a Macan? And I kept on thinking to myself, well, people line up all day and night to buy Audi Q5s, and it's the same engine as the Q5.
Yeah.
So if it's good enough for that, it's good enough for this.
But this one has a new engine, of course, and I would, 4-cylinder is thrifty. It's good, it's lighter. This is, I think the S would be the one to get, or maybe the turbo when it comes out.
Yeah, the turbo hasn't been announced yet. So what they've done, and this is one of the knocks against Porsche, is the fact that, we all know Porsche is part of the Volkswagen group, and now they're using what are called the group engines. So this 3-liter turbo is the same 3-liter turbo they use in the Cayenne. It's also used in the Q8 from Audi, other Audi products. It's actually an Audi-derived V6 engine, but it's used in this now for the first time.
But there's nothing wrong with that, and it's got a centrally mounted turbo. Mm-hmm. It's basically
mounted in the V.
In the V, and what that does, it reduces turbo lag, but even more so, it's a more compact package, so they can lower the engine and better lower center of gravity.
They use the same engine in Cayenne with 335 horsepower, but when they put it in this, it's 348 horsepower. So you get more power, and what's the thing about this car?
It's smaller, and the torque is really great too.
352 pound-feet of torque.
352, okay.
Yeah. So you get a lot of torque, it's a smaller car with more power, and it's less expensive.
Well, you mentioned it, but you've got to say that, so this is the same engine essentially as the base Cayenne.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
They use it in Cayenne, they use it in Audi products, but you get more power out of this one. You get a 7-speed dual clutch. That's a PDK transmission, is standard equipment. There is a difference between the Porsche Cayenne and this. Porsche dynamic chassis control, that's the electronic actuators on the suspension, not available in Macan. Can you live without that?
Definitely. Why? Well, because this is a lighter vehicle. I think it handles better for sure because it's smaller.
Well, we were just in Austria last week driving the Cayenne Coupe and getting into this 1 week later, and it's a lot less money and it's just as much fun, if not more fun, because it's a smaller package.
You know, I'm going to jump ahead here because we haven't really talked about some of the differences over the last generation of the Macan. But let's just jump into the interior.
Okay.
You mentioned something about this middle console, and what did you call it?
This is the Goldilocks interior for Porsche. So when they came out with the last Cayenne and this Macan, they have the same buttons and switches that run down the middle that I absolutely adore. I love having all of these buttons and switches. You don't even need to take your eye off the road. You can just at a quick glance, push the buttons. Now with the new Cayenne and the new Panamera, they've gone to a glass panel, capacitive, touch sensitive, and the bigger screen. But with this one, it's the Goldilocks. It's got the new 10.9 inch screen, but it still has the old switches, which I love. So this is perfect.
I absolutely agree with you on this. This looks better. There's no fingerprints. You know, the next generation will have the glass, for sure,
course.
right? You know, so speaking of Goldilocks, this is a Goldilocks car for me as well, because we drove the Cayenne last week, and I just recently had the Boxster.
Yeah.
Okay, in this Miami blue.
Really?
Too. And then driving this is the best of all worlds. It's a sporty, really sporty SUV. So this is the Goldilocks. It's just right.
It is, except if you have 2 kids and a dog and stuff like that. So here's the thing is, you've got 2 young daughters, no dog any longer. Could you live with this car? I mean, you could twist your arm, but would it be your choice?
Not for my primary vehicle, but for a secondary vehicle, or when the kids get older. This, if the kids were gone away from school, whatever, this would be perfect for
the empty nester.
Yeah, hands down.
And I think that's who's buying this car. It's people who maybe have successful, obviously, haven't got kids, or the kids are long gone, and you get that. It's actually, somebody mentioned this. They got an email, they're another auto journalist, and they had a friend, and they said, you know, we're downsizing, classic case when people get older, right? We're downsizing. I have a sports car, my wife has an SUV. We have to find something that suits both our needs, and they landed on this car, and I can see why.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a good choice. You know, I would definitely not complain if I chose a Macan, especially a Macan S. So they didn't make a lot of changes, but definitely there are some changes.
I think it looks better. And what they did was the standard LED lamp that has the 4 pin points in the middle is now standard. They upgraded the front of this to have bigger air openings.
The intakes are different.
The air intakes are different. You get standard LED headlamps now. And around the back, they've integrated that light bar between the left and right turn signals that's migrated across the Porsche family.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that light bar. Also available now 21-inch wheels as well. And also on the inside, we mentioned the screen. And of course the vents are different now because they had to make room for the screen.
Yeah.
And the Sport Chrono package and Sport Plus now gets the
little wheel.
The little wheel.
Ours doesn't have it here today, but yeah, you know, the little rotary wheel, that is now available, or it's on the steering wheel for the Sport Chrono package. But this screen, back to the screen for a moment. This is, I just can't get over how perfect this setup is. 10.9 inches. Now, it's not the big 12.3 you get in the Cayenne, but in this size product, it looks fantastic. I love the switches. It's got way more functionality. It makes my Cayenne with the 8-inch screen, or it might even be 7-inch screen, look rinky-dink compared to this now.
And one thing I discovered, it actually has wireless Apple CarPlay.
Now, I don't use an Apple phone, so what is that?
Well, instead of having to use a cable like that, you can actually use Apple CarPlay wirelessly. Same, BMW has the same as well.
Does it work well?
It does, it does.
It's not glitchy?
No, not at all.
Your money, Brian Chow's money. Macan S, I know it's not going to be the turbo, that's too much money. So the Macan starts at $55,000 roughly, and this Macan S is $10,000 more. Which one is Brian Chow using with his money?
Macan S.
You're going to spend the 10 grand?
Macan S. And I've just recently become a big fan of Miami Blue. after I drove that Boxster and this Miami Blue. It's a $3,500 option.
Wow.
Yeah, but you know what? We're driving in kind of in a convoy of Macans. Which one gets noticed the most?
This one, yeah.
Like, you know, it's pretty spectacular.
3-4 years later, are you still going to be happy with that choice?
Yeah, you know what? I like color. I'm not a gray, black kind of car guy. Not at all. I like
what color's your car?
Green.
No, it's black.
Oh, my Acura. My Acura is black. I didn't have a choice for that one. The Macan is Porsche's best-selling vehicle in their lineup, and it has been for the last 4 years.
Okay.
You know, so it's outselling everything. You think it's going to continue on, or are there going to be other iterations of SUVs coming, you think?
I think it's going to remain the champ. Now, we were speaking to the PR person here from Porsche Cars Canada, and they said for the beginning of the year so far, Cayenne is outselling Macan, but that's because Cayenne's brand new. It's just arriving, and people are waiting for this car to arrive, this one that we're driving now, the facelifted one. I think in a few short months, once this starts hitting dealerships, that will flip right around. It's just, you know what, people can get into the Porsche family. Cayennes have become very expensive. It's easy to spend $100,000 on a Cayenne. People will go for, you know, $70,000, $75,000 and get a nice liquid.
Now keep straight.
It's amazing how Porsche has, the sports car company has really turned into this SUV company.
I was going to ask you that. So do you think that Porsche is losing its soul by selling all these SUVs instead of sports cars?
No, not at all. You know, they're giving people what they want, but this still has all the Porsche DNA, hands down. Don't you think?
The one thing for me is, and I can say this because I've owned 4 Porsches, they're so well made, first of all, and the quality is there, and the resale value is unbelievable. I had a Porsche Cayenne. I drove it for 6 years. Between what I paid for it and what I sold it for, it worked out to $330 a month.
Wow.
To drive it. So I call it the dollars in, dollars out. So think about that when you buy a car.
Okay, dad bod cam.
We've been working on the dad bod.
Oh yeah.
Eating lobster. You should have seen Brian going to town on the lobster.
If you come to the East Coast, you have to have lobster and seafood.
And I had cod. Delicious.
Did you kiss the cod?
No, I think we're going to do some screech later, which should be fun. All right, so what do you think of this? Now, this is why you buy a Cayenne over a Macan, is space. It's not big.
It's not huge. It's not too bad. Are your knees hitting?
I've got to slouch down a little bit. If I sat up properly, I've got the body of a giant, of course. I could touch, but nobody sits like that. You slouch down.
Yeah, no, this is not too bad. I did mention before when I tested it with car seats, baby seats, it's really cramped,
See,
right?
They'll sell you a Cayenne.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but you know, if the kids aren't in the baby seat, this could be all right.
I think probably for teenagers, probably okay.
Yeah, small teenagers.
Yeah, let's drive.
Sweet and sour time. Sweet.
Styling. I think it looks better. The car looks better, especially the back, the rear light. Before it was a bit empty looking. Now they filled in the middle with that light bar. I think it looks better.
It looks better, but there was nothing wrong with the previous generation. I was a big fan of the Macan, and I still am. I think it's one of the best looking SUVs out there, hands down.
All right. Any other sweets?
Engine. You know, more power. It's responsive.
Yeah, and it delivers on what the advertisement is, which is it's a performance SUV. It is a performance SUV.
Oh, it really is. Like, you want to drive spirited when you get into this thing.
Yeah, and it loves corners. It doesn't feel like an SUV. It feels like a slightly bigger car. So those are all positives. What about some sours?
Well, the sour, you know, the prices went up a little bit. It can get expensive with the a la carte options, just like any Porsche, though. You know, like this one, I believe, was running probably in about the mid 80s.
Yeah.
You know, for this one.
But it has air suspension and the expensive paint color and all that kind of stuff.
But the finish is so nice. It really, really is. And the screen, like you said, you know, I think that's another sweet, actually, the screen.
Yeah.
The screen integrates really nice, easy to use, responsive.
Yeah. So that's really the only downside is the price.
Yeah.
There you go. Another edition of Sweet and Sour.
Hammer it.